Hey everybody, welcome to the MMA podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban here.
So, as you can see, I'm in my, well, you don't know what my dressing room looks like, but this is a dressing room at work. I had to come in and be, yeah, I know, to do Speak for Yourself today, which was cool. I was in, DC was with me, and we were talking about Jon Jones, obviously, upcoming. So that aired, but I think people redo it, or they rerun it so people could catch it. It was cool. DC's in it. It seems to be in a really good headspace. But what about you, Alan? You were training earlier today already?
Yeah. I just got back from Big Bear. I did some elevation training with Sam Alvey. Smiling Sam Alvey hit me up. He said, "Man, I got a 3-bedroom cabin in Big Bear for the weekend. Let's go." You see, we're on the same card, obviously, in Mexico City. So I wanted to see if I wanted to take my family up and do some conditioning with him and kind of test out a cardio. So I said, "Hell yeah, man!" We went and did it. It was a great weekend with the family. Great weekend of training. Back here now. Got some training in the Black House. Just kind of getting closer to fight week. But, man, to be honest, like you said a while ago with DC, I'm more excited about this Jon Jones DC fight than I am about my own fight at the moment because it's their fight week.
Well, I'm excited to see you fight, obviously, too. And, you know, I like Sam Alvey, but he's fighting my boy H.E.A.T Evans, so...
You know what? I agree, too. You know I'm a H.E.A.T fan as well.
Yeah.
It's funny. I talked to... Sam Alvey about it. Him and his wife are huge H.E.A.T fans as well.
Right.
Like, his wife is his manager.
Yeah,
she's
exactly,
like, oh, why does he have to fight my favorite fighter? So they're like on the same boat as us. They're actually very big H.E.A.T Evans fans. They have a lot of respect for him. So I like to see that, you know, two opponents that you're friends with.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, both of us are got to get our hustle on, so this may be a little bit of a shorter podcast, but I do want to get your thoughts at least on some of the things looking forward to 214. But before we do that, what was your take on Chris Weidman defeating Kelvin Gastelum? You know, this was an interesting thing. I was in New York there, and before, you know, our fans are so funny and so fickle, Alan. Before the fight, a lot of people had picked Kelvin to win. They're like, oh, he's got the momentum. He's too fast. You know, he's too this. Chris is done. Chris is over. He's on 3-fight losing streak. He's done. A lot of people pick Kelvin to win. Then as soon as Chris wins, they're like, oh, big whoop. He beat a welterweight. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't win with our fans. I'm curious what your take was on that whole thing.
I heard that argument a lot about him beating a welterweight. Well, this welterweight has been doing an excellent job beating up a lot of big middleweights.
For
so,
sure.
My take on the fight. You know, I thought that it surprised me after the fight that Kelvin Gastelum was saying, I think I need to go back down to welterweight because I think he's had a tremendous amount of success at middleweight. He was winning the fight against Weidman. He knocked down Weidman. He seemed to kind of have Weidman's number. Early in the fight, it didn't seem that Weidman was able to get that much success with his takedowns, and he couldn't get his striking off that well. Gastelum was kind of picking him apart somewhat. You know, I think he dropped him once or twice, but he was doing very well in my eyes. And then Weidman kind of figured out, you know what, I'm able to take him down. Like he was taking him down pretty easily actually with those like ankle picks. He kind of realized that Gastelum, and this isn't a knock on him, but he's kind of like top heavy. If you grapple, if you Greco-Roman grapple up top, he's pretty strong. But if you hit him and snatch his feet out from under him, his base wasn't as strong as Weidman. And Weidman found the success in that, taking him down off the cage, kind of just sweeping his ankle out with the ankle pick. And after that, he kept going back to it, found the success, eventually found the ending. I was happy to see Weidman get the victory. But I got to tell you, I'm a Weidman fan. But he spoke a little bit too soon about, I'm the real champ. Everybody knows I'm the best in the world. Like, what was he talking about? Was he just excited, the moment?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because I thought Chris was doing pretty well in the fight, and I thought he was successful, but that end of the first round there, Kelvin dropped him. And, you know, it was something I'd seen Ray Longo, Chris's coach, the night before, and he was talking about, we were talking about his Patrick Cummins and John Vellante fight, and he was saying he thought Cummins' chin was gone, but I know people think that about Chris, and maybe that, so I was actually surprised when he got dropped late in the first round, not because Kelvin isn't powerful, but I thought that Chris had been doing pretty well, but you could tell it seemed very... kind of methodical. It seems like there was a lot of, let me fight safe. You know what I mean? Don't do anything too risky. And I definitely thought that, the wrestling was going to be the path of least resistance and the best thing for him because he's so much bigger than Kelvin. So, obviously that did prove to be successful. But, in terms of saying I'm back and I'm the best there is, it's tough because you know, the Luke Rockhold fight was a good fight, but, you know, he made that mistake throwing the spinning and paid for it. He was doing quite well against Yoel Romero up until the knee that, you know, was heard around the world. I think he won the first round against Gegard. Second round didn't go his way. So it's tough because I understand where he's coming from in that he's more skilled than his record shows.
Yes.
But by the same token, I don't think he should be fighting Michael next, and I do think he needs to fight another person in the top there and win again before he gets it. I think he's so happy though to have not lost. You know what I mean? I think it was a lot of emotion, and I feel like he probably felt that way. I've always been good. I just was on the wrong side of luck before.
I think you named it. You know, I was picking at him. I was like, you know, what was he talking about? But I know what it's like. He was the best guy in the world for a while. He beat some of the best guys in the world. And he's used to kind of being in the limelight. He's used to being in that conversation of being the top middleweight in the world.
Right.
He goes on a, 3 or 4 fight skid. It's like another world. When everybody's calling you champ one day, and the next day people are scared to talk to you because you got knocked out, it's a weird feeling. And every fight, you're like, I just want that feeling back where people want to embrace me and give me high fives.
Right.
But every time you lose, you're stuck in this world of like, oh, I got to kind of watch what I say because I can't say I'm the best because he's got knocked out. And he's been living in that world so long. I think he was just overjoyed with the victory in his hometown that he just wanted to, like, lash out and say, look, I'm the best. I still got it. And then he started thinking too fast. His wheels started turning. Let me call out Michael. Let me create the hype, the buzz. Let me lobby for this fight since Michael's the champ right now.
Right.
He got a little ahead of himself. Obviously, I think he needs, like you said, another win against a top 5 or top 10 guy. Or maybe try to get a win back off of one of these guys who he's already lost to.
Right. Well, it's tricky because, you know, Gegard's not in the picture anymore with the UFC, and I know that is a fight that Chris wanted to get. The same night on Saturday night, they announced that David Branch was going to fight Luke Rockhold, which I think is sort of funky. No disrespect to David Branch, but I guess, you know, with Gegard leaving and with Mike and Whitaker supposed to fight, you know, I guess that's, you know, Jacare lost, and so, you know, it's just, that fight just seemed a little strange to me, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad for Chris. I think it was obviously something that he really, really needed, and hopefully that will, you know, bring more positive momentum back into his life. But yeah, I just want to see Whitaker and Bisping unify that title. Like, I don't really see why anybody else would be able to sneak in there. It doesn't really make sense to me. It seems like that's an obvious thing. Why wouldn't they just be fighting next?
Yeah, they would be the fight. The only thing that's prolonging it is because both of these guys have health issues, injuries, obviously. Right. So even if Whitaker was going to be out for, let's say, 8-9 months, I think Michael's still going to be out for a number of months as well because he's still recovering the knee as well, correct?
Yeah, he still is. I mean, he's training, but he kind of keeps making the mistake of kind of pushing it harder than he should. You know what I mean? I think, you know, he wants to be better, but his knee is still giving him issues. So I'm not exactly sure when it is that he'll be 100%. We'll probably talk about this. He's doing UFC tonight with me and Kenny on Wednesday, so I'm sure we'll hear more about. But I know, he wants to come back. The George St. Pierre fight is still something that he wanted. I don't know if now everything worked out to where it's not going to happen and that George would get the winner of Tyron versus Demian, because there was that rumor floating around. So I don't really... Yeah, I don't know, but I'm happy for Chris, and I don't think it really hurts Kelvin. You know what I mean? I think that a loss now at the age of 25 against a former champion, that's all good, and he was very classy about it.
How old is
yeah, he's 25.
Kelvin?
Yes.
Damn it.
I know.
I walked into a gym at 25. And
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So he's got he's got so much time.
He's fine. And I would like, you know, it is tricky because he did have success at 85. But I can't decide where I kind of want him. I mean, I like to see if he can make 170. I think that's really where he's supposed to be, quote unquote, supposed to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the issues making the weight, it's like you don't want to. Do you want to try again and not get there again, and then?
That's the thing. He's a bit of like a tweenie. Like he's a big welterweight, smaller size middleweight because of his height.
Right.
But yeah, it's just like if he goes back to welterweight and he has to struggle, he's got to go through that horrible weight cut again, and then if he misses the weight, it's just another thing by his name saying like this guy is not dependable. I don't know. Yeah, if he could change his diet, but he said he's only 25, so he's still filling out. He's still growing, getting bigger. Sure. Yeah.
It's tough. Well, like we said, we don't have as much time today, so I do want to get to 214. I can't imagine that DC and John are not going to actually make it inside the octagon on Saturday. I mean, really. But literally, like I said, I was just with DC, and he seems to be in a really good place, and was talking about, if he didn't have the belt now, if he didn't beat John, like he's still, okay in his life. And I was actually worried that DC might be a little too emotional going into this fight. But he seems really chill, and it kind of now seems like John is the one who's a little bit more emotional, because John, they just had a call, and I was listening to the call, and, he's angry. He thinks DC's been maligning his character, and, John has to get a lot of things back, and DC was sort of pointing that out, and he made a good point that, John has more of an emotional investment in trying to get things back to quote-unquote normal for him. But I don't know. It's one thing to say that, but I feel like when they stand across each other, they're both going to be emotional.
It's gonna be bananas, man. I just saw like a little teaser of the Embedded.
Yeah.
And John Jones was sitting down with like Big Boy in the Morning or something on the radio show, and he looked all like cleaned up and lean, and he had like his shirt tucked in and like some khaki pants or something like that. And I don't know what he was wearing, but I was like. And they were like, "What's up, John Jones?" And he's like, "Hi guys, nice to be here." Man, is he going back to this like good guy role again, or what's?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's focused or he's just being polite or if he's trying to change his character. But it was like a different guy that I've seen that was lashing out at DC in the interviews. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting because he just even on this call, and like you said, things that you've seen him, if you believe him, he's saying, yes, he's really trying to turn his life around and work on his character and be a better person and all of that. And so I think that is, he's also maybe nervous about people taking things out of context. That happens to you guys. You say one thing and it gets taken the wrong way. So I think he is trying to be very careful with what he's saying right now. But, once you see those two, once they get together at this press conference on Wednesday, it's like they bring the best and the worst out in each other. And then when John came here to FS1 as well, I wasn't here when he was here, but everybody said, yeah, he was very polite and came in, but actually kind of thought that this place was such a pro-DC place. He thought he was really going to kind of get beaten up here. But everybody was respectful of him. So, I don't know, it was one thing that we were talking about, though, is that whole idea of him being the greatest ever. And this was something I want to ask you because Colin and Jason asked me, well, who do you think the athletes are rooting for? And the other fighters. And I was like, I don't know. That's a really tough question because I said I think there's a certain amount of fighters that are rooting for John in that when somebody is so good and so gifted and you want to see the best. You know what I mean? You want to see somebody who has all those gifts sort of live up to his potential and be the best, and that's inspiring for other athletes to see that greatness. But then there's other people that want him to be punished. So you're the athlete. What's your take? Like, who do you root for in this situation?
The floor is mine.
Yes.
I'll say this. This is my take on it. I think that the general public, the fans, there's probably a much greater John Jones fan base than DC.
Yeah.
Because of the way that the way that DC comes across for some reason rubs people the wrong way. Doesn't matter what John Jones does, as DC stated, doesn't matter how much trouble he gets into, people still seem to side with John Jones.
Right.
I think it's a lot closer of a margin when you look at the athletes, the fighters. I think every fighter, when they see John Jones, they respect the natural gift, the natural athlete. And that's undeniable. You look at John Jones, you're like, man, he just does this shit with such ease. Right. He makes the things look so easy. He's so good at every area. He's so good at breaking down the toughest fighters in the world.
Right.
And so every other fighter respects that about him. But I think fighters, we don't really partake into the trash talk or the perception of DC that the fans don't like DC. We look at DC and we're like, look, the guy's a badass wrestler. He gets the job done. He does his thing in every other area of the world, in the Olympics, and he's an analyst on Fox and all these things. So I think we all respect DC for his accomplishments as well. So I think that it's probably 50-50 when it comes to the fighters on who's going to win on this one. When it comes to the fan base, obviously John Jones jumps off of the page as the overwhelming favorite amongst the fans because they just want to kind of see that. It's a tough one. You know, when I think about this fight, though, Karyn, it kind of reminds me of the box. We're talking about the boxing fights, like Mayweather and Conor are like supposed to be the circus, the circus show, and the real boxing fight, the real best guys in the world, is supposed to be later on when Canelo fights Triple G.
Right.
That's how I see this fight as well. You know, Conor's one of the best in the world. The circus show that we all love to watch, and I'm definitely watching, but you know, it is more entertainment.
Right.
Is the Conor McGregor Mayweather show. The two baddest men on the planet, 205 pounds, but the two real baddest men on the planet are fighting this weekend, John Jones, Daniel Cormier, and that's when we're really going to see who is the best guy in the division.
Yeah, I agree, and that's one thing I was saying too. Is like, you know, DC has already secured for me his place in the Hall of Fame. He's already got an incredible legacy. But,
I agree. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I said, but you know, yeah, there might be an asterisk if you never beat John, and DC feels that way too. He's like, no, I want to beat him. It is important, but it doesn't mean it's not the be all end all of my life. You know, whereas you know, John, I think really wants to get out there and shut DC up a lot more. You know what I mean? He has a lot more of a statement I think that he wants to make. You know, but I just go ahead.
You know, one thing I don't know if I'm looking forward to this, Karyn, or dreading it, but when it's all said and done, and whoever's hand is raised in victory, how is the other person going to react? We saw in the last fight that DC was very vocal and cocky and confident, kind of almost a different side of him when he won his last fight against Rumble Johnson.
Right.
The fans really did not appreciate him kind of like calling out everybody and kind of puffing his chest up.
Right.
We seen when John Jones beat DC, John Jones was very vocal in the octagon about letting people know, you know, all the people that was going against him and this and that. So I'll be curious. I'll say curious is the midway point to see what happens whenever the smoke is cleared after wins, how these guys pay respect towards one another, or if there's no respect at all.
Yeah, well, on the call they were interesting, and we recorded, you know, we streamed it. MMA Heat has it, so people can find it on our Facebook page or whatever. But DC was very vocal in saying how much he respects John's abilities and his skill set as a fighter. And John actually said the same thing about DC. So I think they do recognize that the talent in the other. John said something interesting like, well, I hate him because he hates me. Like, he was saying something like he actually thought initially that they would be bros, that they would have things in common, and they do actually. You know what I mean when you really think about it, but it just didn't work out that way. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, whoever doesn't win that fight, it is going to be interesting. It'll really be interesting to see how much the winner sort of rubs it in their face or doesn't. Yeah.
And then to add to that, if DC wins, is there a rubber match?
I know, that's the worst thing. I wanted a rubber match.
If John Jones wins, is this beef squash done? Is it over or not? You know? I don't know.
I just can't wait. I'll be in the studio for that one. I don't know. Before we do get out of here, I got to ask your opinion. And still or and new when it comes to the welterweights. That's your division. I know you got your eyes on that one. Tyron Woodley and Demian Maia. Who takes it?
Hashtag and still. I got to go with and still. You know, not only do I find that it's going to be tough for Demian Maia to take down the very stocky with the wrestling base Tyron Woodley, but something makes me think that, okay, Tyron Woodley was pushing for this date. He wanted to fight on this date. So for people that don't fight, a date is kind of an important thing. For me, there's who are you fighting, where are you fighting, and when are you fighting. A lot of times, I don't care who I'm fighting. I'll fight anybody. Where and when is the most important. And where, you know what, they're gonna look at that.
I know.
What I'm getting.
Yeah, what you're making, the point you're trying to make.
F you. When you want to fight is most important because either you're healthy at a certain point or if you fought too much back to back to back, you get burnt out.
Right.
So the date to me is sometimes the most important factor.
Right.
The date is the one that Tyron Woodley wanted the most.
Yeah.
And Demian Maia wasn't really thrilled about this date, right?
It's a little soon for him.
He might have some injuries.
Yeah.
Those factors being that he has to take Tyron Woodley to the ground, I don't see it happening. Tyron Woodley wants this date. He knows when his body's going to be priming I got Tyron Woodley for the win. Sorry for flicking you off, Karyn, and all our viewers.
Yeah, part of it is for T Wood. He wanted to get on the biggest card. You know what I mean? They want the money. They want the
money. Yes.
Yeah, the card. But yeah, part of it, it is a good date for him. It's more advantageous for Tyron than it is for Demian. You know, obviously he had to fight more recently, and then after Demian fought his last fight, he had some other obligations and some things to do, so he just hasn't had as much time to train specifically for this camp. Although if you think about it, he's trained for people like Tyron before. Yeah, I feel like Tyron has that explosiveness. He's got that power, and it is going to be hard for Demian to get in there and close out, you know, to take him down, to get on him. I don't know if he'll be as successful with that. But it's a shame that it took a long time for Demian to get this title shot, because he's been due it, I feel, for so long. And the fact that the first Woodley Wonderboy fight ended in a tie, to just put it off even longer was like the craziest thing. But yeah, it's.
And Tyron Woodley's coming off of 2 5-round fights. So, you know, at this level, we all kind of have the experience, but he does have that edge. His last 2 fights, he's prepared in camp and fought the full 25 minutes. Demian Maia, he's going to shoot a couple takedowns, and if he doesn't stuff him, he's going to start slowing down tremendously. And then what is he going to do? If he can't take him down, he's going to just start pulling guard.
Right.
He's got 25 minutes to finish. Like, it might be, if he doesn't finish Tyron with a rear naked choke in the first 2 rounds, I see a downhill slide after that for him.
Yeah, the longer it goes, the better it is for Tyron. I agree with that too. All right, well, I need to get out of here. I know you need to get out of here. T-minus less than 2 weeks for your fight. Cannot wait, and I will be in the studio for it. I'm very excited.
Nice.
So until then, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, guys, check me out on my social media at Alan Jouban. As Karyn said, less than 2 weeks out. Been training at elevation, sleeping in an altitude tent. I'm ready for this fight. It's going to be a good show. I can't wait.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you can see me on Twitter, Karyn Bryant, YouTube, Karyn Bryant. We also have MMA Heat there. And on Facebook, on Instagram, I'm KB Heat. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. And Alan, keep your hands up.
I'll keep my hands up, chin down. And I promise, guys, we're going to get a live one.
We will.
In the same room and actually do a normal podcast. We've just been all over the place. Karyn's been busy. I'm in fight camp. But after 214, we shall be getting together and discussing that one. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about.
Awesome, for sure. All right, Alan, take it easy.
Bye, guys.
Bye.